Taking a look at some of these names in the financial world ahead of next week's big earnings, but you really think financials are where it's at, right?
I do. A lot of people don't realize that even last year, and financials falls into that value category and not away from the growth one, which has been the sexy play for the last several years. The financial sector was actually the third best performing sector in the S&P in 2019. We're looking for a continuation of financials to do well again. The inversion of the curve, which seems to be yesterday's news right now, seems to have dissipated significantly. While interest rates are likely to stay low, the earnings are expected to be good, and we are looking for financials to be another top-performing sector in 2020. It's
amazing because when the Fed was in the mode of hiking rates, right? Everybody was trying to get ahead and buy those financials. They thought the higher rate environment would be better. And then next thing you know, the Fed, right, did the 180 and started cutting rates. And it's amazing that financials did so well. Is it even surprising to you?
Yeah, it does seem backwards intuitively that that's what would happen right now.
Right.
But the earnings, when you look at the PE of the financial firms, they have been depressed for a long time. And I just think that they are completely undervalued in terms of market sentiment right now.
Right. And so when we look at these groups and these names, I mean, we have a slew of names that are coming out next week, and we've gotten some positive comments. Goldman Sachs had some positive analyst comments. Citigroup had the call of the decade this week. So we'll have a lot to watch next week when these numbers come out. But I wanted to hear more about what it is that you think is a good investment in the world of financials.
So one of the things that I actually just bought recently was something called DFNL, which is a Davis Financial ETF. It's concentrated, it only has 26 names, and it's not the standard pick of the litter, if you want to call it, meaning it will have the JP Morgans of the world in there, but it's also going to see like Cap One, American Express. So different types of names than you would see, not just your banks, like, as I said, like a JP Morgan, a Citigroup, Goldman Sachs. So it's much more concentrated. The Davis funds have been around. They're very big in the mutual fund space as well. And we think that that's a very, very good ETF to own long term.
Yeah, it has a lot of exciting names in there. Berkshire Hathaway's even in there.
Yes.
I mean, is that surprising that they're calling, I mean, I don't know what you call Berkshire Hathaway, because it has a little bit of everything, right?
It does, but a lot of their underlying holdings are financials. The Wells Fargo, Bank of America is something that they've owned, Goldman Sachs as well. Yes, of course, they own Apple, which has really done well, which has certainly helped.
Yeah. What do you expect from earnings next week? We kick it off with Citi, Wells Fargo, and JP Morgan on Tuesday, and then followed by Goldman Sachs and Bank of America. I mean, everybody was looking at net interest margin, net interest income. Those were some things people wanted to look for when they combed through the reports. So when you look at these big bank earnings next week, what are some themes that you're going to be looking for?
I think looking at the investment banking backlog, Bank of America actually had the best backlog, if I'm not mistaken, on the last quarterly report, and they did really well. Certainly the fixed income trading. Headcount is something that they've been talking about. We've heard of actually layoffs at almost all of these investment firms, which, while it's bad news from the standpoint of an employment situation, generally speaking, that does help the bottom line of the firm, because there definitely is a compensation cost that backdrop that they're looking at right now to make sure that they are keeping costs in line, which adds to the bottom line. So also net interest margin, definitely watching to see where interest rates are going. As I said, the investment banking login, and also, as I said, just the fixed income departments as well to see. Trading, well, it'll be interesting to see, because I don't know how much money anyone's making right now.
I also don't think there's been a lot of loans lately. I was reading over the weekend that the loans have sort of tapered off a little too.
It has, and I think that that's definitely something to watch out for. But overall, the expectations of banks have been so depressed. I don't know if depressed is the right word, but so low for such a long period of time, and I think that it's easy to beat. The one bank, if you want to call it, that I would be more concerned about than the other ones is probably Wells Fargo, which has had a lot of bad news and let it bread press over the last couple of years.
But the group brings value, you think,
I totally think it brings value. And as I said, it was the third best performing sector in the S&P in 2019, and a lot of people don't realize that.
That's great to see you. Thank you so much, Marc Pfeffer, Chief Investment Officer of CLS Investments. Thanks for joining us on the show.